Living and Loving Life's podcast is to help people find their balance spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, and socially. Listeners will have a positive mindset, renewed outlook for themselves, their future, and believe they are beautifully made inside and out. Listeners will shine and be an example to others as they live fully, completely with no barriers, no burdens, and no regrets.
Welcome back to all my listeners. Welcome to Living and Loving Life podcast, to Motivational Mondays. Today we have a really special guest today. His name is Dr. Craig Wright. I'm going to allow him to tell us a little bit about his background and his story. Hi, good morning, Craig.
Hi there. Doing just fine, thank you. I am a professional numerologist. Didn't start off with that in mind. My intention was to become an engineer, so I was studying a lot of math and science, and I guess that was my life. If you couldn't add it, subtract it, multiply it, divide it, it wasn't real to me. Then in my 21st year, I was 21 years old, I was planning to become an Air Force pilot. My best friend died from a drug overdose, and I wasn't even aware he was using. So that was the turning point in my life. That's when I began to, for the first time in my life, recognize there was a higher power, because it was just too much. It was too much for me to bear. I started to pray for the very first time.
Wow.
And I wanted to know why I was here. I wanted to know, why was I experiencing this loss? Why did this happen? What was the meaning and the purpose of my life?
Okay.
And so that incident triggered this mindset. And through that situation, I began to discover that numbers had meanings. I was asking the Creator to show me why I was here, and I got a response. It was though it responded back to me. I put the energy out, and the energy came back. And so I went from studying figures to studying numbers. I discovered there was a difference. Figures are for the physical plane. For example, if I hold up a pen and say I have one pen, that would be a figure, a quantity. But if I look a little closer and I say, big pens are number one, now I'm no longer talking about a quantity, but a quality of being the best. So that's when I came to realize that figures measure things on the material plane, but numbers reveal the spiritual plane. So I didn't know it, but I was already prepared from studying numbers, but my intent was a totally different intent, to become a pilot or an engineer. And God had a different plan for me with the numbers.
Right. Okay. And when did this journey begin for you, or when did the turning point start?
1972.
Okay.
1972. So that's been over almost 50 years now.
Nice. So throughout your journey, a lot of times people say after, I wouldn't say arrived, because I don't think we ever arrive. We're always evolving. But now that you have more of a clarity of your purpose and your calling, can you look back on your journey and realize certain things that happened in your life were preparation for this actual place that you are in now?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. When I was in the 7th grade, I got good grades in math and science, and that's when my parents decided they were going to have an engineer in the family. So that brought the enrichment of math and science and numbers and studying. In my early introduction to spirituality, my mother didn't go to church. She was a member of the Baltimore Ethical Society. So she took us there on Sundays, and that's how I was introduced to people from all different religions, different backgrounds, different cultures. So
Nice.
I wasn't grounded into any particular philosophy. So that also had a bearing.
Yeah, and I think it gives you the opportunity to decide what works for you versus saying this way is the only way. Go that way. Don't look anything up, anything. Don't do your own research. Don't do anything. Right. This is right. And I think a lot of times that's what happens with people. Like you mentioned, your parents noticed that in 7th grade, your math and science were amazing. So they decided you're going to be an engineer. Not Dr. Craig decided that that's what he wanted to do, and a lot of times we don't want to disappoint or go against. So we just kind of just fall under the shadow of someone else is telling them what they should look like or who you should be. Then people get lost. And that's why I think we're so frustrated and people are just on autopilot because they're not living their truth. They're living someone else's truth to satisfy somebody else's void or appetite that they're searching for. So awesome. I love that. Okay. So when I met you, I was very intrigued. You threw me for a little loop, which was awesome. I love loops because it makes my brain think more, and wisdom is power. So you told me about this numerology thought or theory. Can we speak a little bit more about that so that someone that has no idea, quite like myself, what this means and how they can use it to benefit their life moving forward?
Yes. Numerology has been around some 4,000 years.
It's biblical. I looked it up for sure.
It was taught in the Egyptian mystery schools. Pythagoras studied there. And the idea in numerology is, as I mentioned before, numbers reveal spiritual qualities. But what that means as it relates to individuals is the letters in your name and the numbers in your birthday influence who you are and what can happen during the course of your lifetime. It's not like a predictive type deal, but it does give parameters in which you can exercise your free will. So in further study, as I began to evolve in my studies, I came to the realization that, as you said, it's biblical. The idea is the world was created by the word. Right. And words are vibrations. Right now, I'm just vibrating the air. And we've been taught in grade school to use letters and numbers as symbols for vibrations. The teacher says, that's the A sound. That's the B sound. So they give us the vibration and the symbol for it. So logically, since we are created by the word and the word is symbolized with letters and numbers, symbols for the vibrations, the letters in our name and the numbers in our birthday are symbols for the word of God that created us. So that was really eye-opening when I made that discovery. So if someone
goes to understand this, you're telling me that this could be a tool for them to kind of find their purpose or their calling that here on earth.
Yes. As I sort of put on the back page of my book, know thyself is an old adage that's still meaningful today. If you have discovered that you can't be all things to all people, you can't do all things at once, you can't do things equally well, and that your humanity is showing just like everyone else, then numerology will help you find out who you are so you can be that, decide what comes first so you can do that, and discover your strengths so that you can use them and teach you not to compete with others because no one else is in the business of being you.
Awesome. Love that. So with that being said, to kind of sum that up, this is like a personal guide from your higher power, whoever that is. Mine happens to be God and Jesus. So it's basically like the Bible or people's Qurans, whatever you practice or whatever you read for your material, it's almost as if this one is a guide specifically for your life and your life path.
It's a bridge.
Yeah. Awesome.
It connects the spiritual to the material. Yeah.
So actually, if people were to pay more attention and start to put together things, we wouldn't be so lost, because there are actual tools and little things, our secrets or little gems he's placed out to make life easier for us.
Exactly.
So I love that. I love that. And, I love my space because I get to meet all of these type of people, things that I had no clue that can help me, and then I could put out to help others. So this is so awesome. I do have one kind of tricky question. From your personal opinion or your theories of after doing some research and things, can you give me just a slight idea of why you would think that they would stop teaching this in schools? This is such a great tool for people to learn early. Why is this not still being taught to our children today?
Well, this is a type of school that can, or a tool, I should say, that enhances self-development. And there are always forces in this environment that we call Earth, the thing we call life, that are more interested in the power structure staying the way it is, as opposed to seeing individuals blossom and grow. Institutions want to hold on to power. Even we have here in America the separation of church and state.
Yeah.
There's something called the separation. Can you imagine what that has done to our psyche when we are not physical beings who are having an occasional aha moment? We are spiritual beings having a temporary physical experience. So how can you separate spirituality from who we are?
Yeah.
So those are the forces of darkness.
Yeah.
You mentioned Christianity. It says right in Genesis, the first thing God did was separate. So he came in using math. I'm going to divide. From one, I'm going to make two and divide light from the darkness. So this was before sun, moon, and stars. So this was light, which is, I believe that's who we are. These elements of light, we were created at the very beginning, and darkness. These are opposing forces that are here simply to test us, to help us grow. They're like resistance to a weightlifter. Okay, so we shouldn't fear the dark forces like we do the boogeyman. We have to recognize them, that they are there working against us, and develop the tools that we need to be victorious. Faith, prayer, spirituality, a connectedness to spirit, and a sense of purpose and divine will associated with your experience. Right. Otherwise, you can be pulled into the darkness and lost. And we see it every day. It's on the news every day.
Unfortunately, it's a lot. It's a huge amount of our population.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why this for me is so important, and I won't stop because there is such a big need for it. Just for the people to see that light again, that it's not really that dark and you can get off on the other side. You just have to start digging and getting yourself out of it.
It's like the story of the prodigal son in the scripture. Once we get tired of scrapping with the pigs for their food, and we remember our father and make the turn back home, he comes out to meet us.
He's there waiting.
Out to meet us.
He's there waiting. He's waiting. Like he's waiting at the front door, just like a human father to their child. You're going to go out. You have free will to do what you want. But your home is still available when you're ready to make those right choices. Doors always open. So I love that. Okay. So for someone starting out not having a clue of this, give me a couple tips or maybe one or two things that they can start, where to start to gain some insight on this, to start to dig to see if this is something they're interested in or something that could help them find that purpose in life.
Well, they are if anyone who really has that feeling they're living at a wonderful time, a wonderful age, when I got that notion, I had to go to the Library of Congress to find books on numerology. They weren't in the libraries. No one had heard of it. Nobody knew what I was talking. I didn't even know what I was looking for. I was just searching for meaning, and I discovered, oh, this thing is called numerology. But now you can just Google it. Really, we live in a wonderful time, a wonderful age. If you just Google numerology, you'll be amazed at the resources that will pop up. You don't have to go to the Library of Congress like I did and sit there.
That's your fingertips.
You couldn't take the books out, And I have a book in print that's available on my website. It's called It All Adds Up. And the bibliography in that book is all the wonderful things that I discovered and read. And my book is a beginner's guide.
Okay, awesome. So basically, you would say start at your book if this is something that's piquing your interest.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I love that. All right. So Dr. Craig, tell me, through your journey, what would you have to say would be one of your hardest lessons that you've learned? And do you apply it to your day-to-day life today?
Well, I guess the hardest lesson I had to learn was to discern the still small voice within and to prioritize that, which to me is what people mean when I hear people say, put God first, keep God first. Well, and mentally, to me, that means tuning in to the still small voice. And it's so hard because there's so many other voices around you, screaming, hollering, demanding your attention. I saw an accident today. It was crazy. Truck jumped up on the curb. So there's always a lot going on outside of us. So the hardest thing for me to realize was, okay, I'm a co-creator. So if I'm listening to the inner voice and I'm paying attention to that, I can in fact plant seeds into my own consciousness with my will and be a co-creator. I can plant seeds of happiness and joy and faith, no matter what's going on around me on the outside. And this was a really hard lesson to learn because as I look back in my life, a lot of times I succumbed to the noise. I quit. I gave up. I lost faith. I didn't receive what God had planned for me. That's never going to happen to me again.
Awesome. That's so good. And you know what?
Yes, I'm applying it.
You apply it day to day. Awesome. And you know what? We all have those days. And when we just remember to keep going, He has a plan. He'll never forsake you. It's hard because that was one of my lessons. My lesson was to surrender and believe what I'm saying. Believe that I know that He will have my back. Not just say it, but actually believe it, because then you let go of that stress and that worry that comes along with worrying about everything that it's not in your control anyway.
That's the peace that surpasses understanding. The sweet surrender.
Yeah.
When you just turn it all over to Him, no matter what.
I sleep like a baby because I know as long as I do what I'm supposed to do and listen to those voices that I'm getting, it always works out. I always let myself get overworked and underpaid, but I have to just let go and let God. And I've heard that my whole life, but I just recently, within the last 3 years, understood what that means and really applied that to my day-to-day life. Because you're right. I could walk outside right now and see the same accident you saw, and that could just put me in a whole different energy. I could walk out positive, but then seeing that automatically can transform you and put you back into a negative space if you allow it and let it take that much power and control over you mentally.
Oh, yeah. There's a battle going on.
Yeah. As long as you're aware of it and mindful of it, you can stay on top of it. It's when you're being blinded and you're not paying attention to, just like you said, those seeds that you're planting, the positive ones, you can also plant negative ones and don't understand how much of effect it has on your day-to-day, your attitude, the way you're responding, what you're doing, your productivity level, everything. It just matters, All right. So awesome. I love that. So in your opinion, Doctor, What does it mean to live and love life?
Life, or I should say the word live is interesting. It kind of reflects on what we were just talking about, the separation, the light side or the dark side, or you listen to the inner voice, because the word live, L-I-V-E, if you spell it backwards, is E-V-I-L. So to love and live is to be positive, to stay in the light, to heed the inner voice.
I'm glad you pointed that out, because listen, people are just living to survive or live to survive. So you could be living, but living on, like you said, on the evil side or the dark side and just surviving. Or you can turn that around and live and love your life and have that peace of mind and that holistic part of you just feeling completely, solely fulfilled, not empty in any manner.
And that is one of the benefits I found in numerology. I discovered that the numbers in our birthday reveal our gifts from God. We always hear, you have a contract, like the prophet Jeremiah. We have a contract with God before we're formed in the womb. And I discovered that the numbers in our birthday reveal God's part of the contract, the gift, if you will, our spiritual gifts. And the letters in our name reveal our part of the contract, what we promised to do. So when God told Jeremiah, before I formed you in the womb, you said you're going to be my prophet. There's no backing out now. You know, that information holds true for all of us. And you can find it. You can discover what that is with numerology.
That's very interesting you say that, because even starting at a young age, I've always had this tug, this promptness to do something. I knew I was a servant. I just didn't understand where, how, and what does that look like. So he would be prompting and pushing this way, and I would be tugging and pulling this way because I'm immature, still trying to figure my way out. But at the end, like you said, he basically was like, this is what it is for you. So embrace it, love it, and just start pouring in. And it just started just coming out naturally, just randomly, opening doors that I never were expected to be open or could have even known that this is the way it was going to go for me. But once I said, like I said, just surrender and let go and let God, a whole different world has been exposed to me. Whole different world.
There's a scripture, Psalms 90 verse 12, that reads, "So teach us to number our days so we can apply our hearts to wisdom." And this refers to an ancient Egyptian formula, if you will, or process for determining your gift so that you could apply this gift. So you do that by looking at your birthday. January 15th, 1927 was Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. If you add, his birthday is January the 15th, 1 and 15 is 16. In his year, 1927, adds up to, 9, 10, he wasn't born at 27. He was born at 29. His year adds up to 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 2 is 12, and 9 is 21. If you add 16 and 21, it adds up to 37. Then we add 3 plus 7 to get 10. And finally, 1 plus 0 equals 1. So the number 1 was Dr. King's gift. By numbering his days, 1 plus 15 plus 21, we get 37, but you keep adding. 3 and 7 is 10, and 1 plus 0 is 1. So his gift was leadership. Numero uno. Everybody knows what that number means. It's in our psyche. Everyone in our culture is trying to be number one, which could be a detriment when everybody's got a type A personality, because every number has a meaning and every number is equally important and here to be expressed. But our culture is just focusing on this one one energy. Everybody's trying to be number one.
Yeah.
So that's how you number your days. Would you like to know your gift?
Sure.
When is your birthday?
4/1984.
Okay. The number 19, that adds up to 10. So one of your gifts is a number 1, leadership. The number 4 is a symbol for orderliness. So you have a gift of being self-directed. You don't need anyone standing over you, telling you what to do. Your year, 1984, that adds up to 22. 1 plus 9 is 10. 8 and 4 is 12. That's a 22. That's called the master builder vibration in the globalist. So your gift, by the way, it's also a 4. 2 plus 2 is 4. So when you have numbers that match the way you do, your month and your year, both 4s, it means you're an old soul. You've been here many times before. Yeah. There's only one challenge you have, and that's the number 3. When you subtract 1 from 4, it's 3. And 3 is about singing, painting, dancing, writing, anything artistic, decorative, colorful. So you're an artist.
I'm very creative when it comes to things like that.
You did not manifest to work 9 to 5, but to have your own business and to express leadership. If you use your gift, and totally, you don't have to. We have free will. I'm just sharing with you the gifts that God gave you.
The guide, my guide. You're giving me my guide. So it's either I take his road or I don't. So
pretty much.
Yeah.
If you decide to write, the number 22 gives the potential for what you write will go to the big screen. Now let's add it all up. 4 and 19 is 23, 23 and 22 add up to 45, and 4 plus 5 is 9. That's the number of selfless giving. Give, 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 get little back or nothing from those you give to. So you're here to be a philanthropist, to help the poor, the sick, and the disadvantaged, people who can't give back. But you'll also have experiences of people who won't give back. The number 9 also means you would have a career in the theater if you chose to pursue it. And not only would your writing make it on the big screen, but you too could become a very well-known actress if you decided to express yourself that way. Those are your gifts.
I'm thinking that my doors are like speaker, motivational speaker, talking, engaging.
Using your voice. Anything having to do with singing, painting, dancing, writing, speaking, color, design, and working with children.
And that's everything. My main goal is to speak in elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, colleges, because I think the earlier people can get the concept of figuring out who they are truly, the faster they can find their purpose and the faster they can find that true happiness and self-love and that confidence that people need in this world today. And it's an urgency. It's huge.
Well, when you said that, I realized that this is just another tool.
Yeah.
For your purpose.
Yeah. And the weirdest thing is now that I'm here, I started a podcast or a radio show with my friends 15 years ago, not realizing what I was already manifesting and doing. But like I said,
ahead of your time.
Yeah, prompting me, getting me ready, putting me in situations so that I will be ready when I'm here, be able to have hard times so that when people come to me with hard times, I'm not just being compassionate. I can empathize with them because I was there. I know what that looks like. I know what that feels like, but I also know what it feels like to come on the other side and come out of it.
To learn the lessons of the past and let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I tell all of my clients. Do not look at things that are negative or bad as a bad thing. Find the lesson that is being taught so that you don't have to go through it again. You only do it one time and you move on to the next lesson. Because you can get stuck in one lesson for 10, 15 years. If you're not aware, you're not paying attention, you're not catching on, because until you learn it the way you're supposed to learn it, he's not going to pass you. It's just like school. They're not going to pass you to the next grade if you don't learn the lessons. That's kind of how life is. Well, it is like how life is. So awesome. I appreciate that. You just, again, like you did the other time, I've been praying. You came to answer. So, and it's been rough for me these past couple of days. So I thank you, God. All I can say is thank you, God. And I am so thankful for you showing up.
Yeah.
Okay. So Doctor, let listeners know you guys got a little piece of me, which is awesome because I want people to feel me. I want you to understand who I am, where I'm coming from, so that I can be more realistic to people and more relatable. I don't want to be this object that's like unattainable or not real, because everybody's human. We all have gone through it. And those are the best stories, to hear people go through something and actually pull themselves out of it and make a better situation out of it. All right, Doctor, any new products besides your book that you have that you want to let the listeners know to look for, come seek you?
Yes. I do consultations. A lot of business people call me up looking for spiritual insights. I do readings. If you want to know what your spiritual gifts are, you do your contract with God. And I also do forecasting, and I'm offering a special at this time of the year for 2022. It's coming in. I want people to get ready for it. So if you order a 6-month forecast at my website, I'm going to give you 6 months for free.
Oh, nice.
And that website is my name, CraigEWright.com. www.CraigEWright.com, and just go right in. Just order a 6-month forecast. Any orders for 6 month forecasts are getting bumped up from now all the way through November.
Awesome. Okay, listeners, I will also add all of his information to our show notes. So if you missed any of that, I will have it in detail under there. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and we will see you guys next Monday for your Motivational Monday. Thank you, Craig, so much for coming and giving us that wisdom and those little jewels you've dropped on us. Thank you so much. See you guys back next week.
If you love the Living and Loving Life podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.